B for me. That is. Let me just make sure. Okay, so we are on, guys. Welcome back. Welcome back to Truth, Trust, and Trajectory. With your girl, she can be. Today, I have a very special guest on my platform, and y'all, we're live right now. We are live. So I just want everybody to tap in. Can you please introduce yourself to the audience for me?
I am Reese Sabatini Blake, a best-selling author and holistic mental health professional, and I guess seasoned relationship anarchist and, healer of my own failed relationships.
I love that. I'm trying to get like you when I grow up, Reese. I promise. Okay, so tell me a little bit about the relationship anarchist. Like, what does that mean for anyone that's not even like they're new to this. They don't know.
Well, relationship anarchy can be more commonly described as ethical non-monogamy,
Okay,
which comes in countless forms,
okay,
like how people practice, like, for example, some people are swingers
gotcha,
and like to live up their key parties.
gotcha.
And some of us are just polyamorous in literally loving more than one person at one time.
Okay,
Some people are just open, where they love one person but they sleep with many.
okay,
And that is kind of the beauty of ethical non-monogamy. You get to decide your own flavor for what works for you and your partners.
gotcha. And I feel like I feel like I might have told you, but my I don't even think we got into this. So you're like a box of surprises like I am, actually. I'm gonna just start there. I did a recording with my best friend a couple of weeks ago, and she literally has like the same dynamic in her relationship, but you didn't bring that up. So now at the end, I'm gonna be like, hey, like, are you willing to do another interview? Because it's gonna be all three of us. Like, you're gonna love her. If you love me already, I can tell. You're gonna love my best friend.
I do.
All right. So, what got you into this line of work? Like, what was it specifically that kind of like triggered this career for you?
Shifting into the holistic side of everything actually would have been my paralysis as a teenager
Mhm.
when we went in for a revisive brain surgery to stop seizures. And on that operating table, I essentially had a stroke and came out paralyzed entirely on the left side of my body.
Oh my God. Okay.
Because Western medicine at that point said, you can do physio, but we can't do anything else for you.
Hmm. Okay.
And from there, it was going and continuing my training in with my working experience in young adulthood and social work
Hmm.
to now take a holistic approach to overcoming our mental health, our trauma, and everything, and really focusing on building a life that you can manage with the tools that you need to thrive instead of just numbing out on medication.
Mm,
Like, instead of that anxiety pill, that PRN, learning deep breathing and mindful techniques that you need to manage yourself in the moment so that you're not relying on as much of a crutch, or so that you need it less frequently.
okay. So, just going back to like the trauma related catalysts that kind of sparked it or initiated this for you. What was it about, or did you know at that time that that was like kind of the route that you were going to take? Or was it more or less like you kind of like put a compare, or you saw like what the Western medicine was versus what you kind of already knew or felt internally?
I would say it was a mix of both,
Okay.
because it had already kind of been my goal to pursue my training in holistic medicine, like through the tribe, because I am indigenous on my mom's side,
Hmm.
and to learn and carry the ways. But in seeing that it emphasized how much more necessary it was,
Mm,
as well as paired with the work that I did with youth in my young adulthood. I saw these people falling through the cracks because they didn't want to conform to the restraints of just being medicated instead of seeking proper help.
mm. So, did you associate at that time the physical? Did you associate at that time like the
What do you do for a living? It's not an answer. Doing construction. How many days a week?
oh, did you associate at that time the physical like ailment to like something that they were not able to um like properly address? Like, did you look at it as if it was more like an internal thing at that time?
Well, I mean, I certainly made a lot of jokes that it was the physical manifestation of not being able to let anything go at that point in my life.
Okay.
Was that, oh, this happened because you're stubborn and you hold on to everything.
Okay.
But in reality, it medically, supposedly it was tied to too much blood thinners in my system during the surgery.
Mm,
And I myself, like, I have a bunch more trauma. Like, it wasn't just medical, there was physical, there was abuse. But it was my drive and my fuck you attitude to overcome it all.
mm, okay. Do you think so? At that time, I'm assuming you were much younger than you are now. So, like, just with that, like, understanding, like, how what would you say to like people that are either younger around that age or maybe even older? Because I think us as like life coach, like in the holistic framework, we have a different perspective of everything, right? As far as like, I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Spirit.
Hmm.
Okay, see, we didn't even cover that in the thing, but she, even as a licensed practitioner, she talks about how a lot of the times, like, there are things that happen emotionally that kind of like transpire and then they become mental, and then from there it kind of progresses into physical ailments. So for people that are not aware of that, or are probably like a little bit, because you know how some people can be skeptical
Hmm.
as far as that, they're like, oh no, like I can buy a pill, or whatever it is. Because I don't know if you've ever been there, but I've been one of those people. Like, what would you say to them to make them like understand that everything starts with all mental? Because that's what I'm hearing. And if I'm wrong, like, correct me.
I would say that you're very right. Like,
Mm,
everything is in your head, and more physical ailment than anything else is caused psychosomatically from our own emotions and our choice to not deal with them, to just bury them under. Your Body Keeps Score, which is a fantastic book to read
I
if
love
you
that.
are experiencing excessive pain or or an unexplainable illness.
Mm,
Um, but it's the mind body connection, even how you can release trauma by going and getting a deep tissue massage because your body holds all of these things in different parts.
correct.
And well, yes, therapy, coaching, counseling, all of that are fantastic. There's not one right answer for everyone. And that is also why a holistic approach is so important because it analyzes your life, not
Yes,
everyone else's. And, you know, even professionals like myself, none of us are perfect. We all have our struggles. When you see us thriving, it's just because we're using our tools.
exactly. So, what are some of the tools that you would kind of like expend upon some of your clients or anybody else that's like new to this realm of the mind is all, the universe is mental?
Well, in so many connotations of the universe is mental. Well, let's honor what you just said there. Um,
Home space, Sam.
but also, I would say start with breath work, because before you can get to meditating and learning to be comfortable with your uncomfortable thoughts and emotions, you have to be able to sit and just focus on your breathing.
Yeah.
From there, you will begin to learn a more relaxed state and actually be able to sort through your thoughts, even if you just sit for a minute a day and focus on your breathing. You will begin to realize that your nervous system is shifting back into a place of homeostasis where you can actually process what's happening. Because if you're not present in the moment, you're just wasting your own time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, um, again, like I like to approach everything like people are brand spanking new to everything. So, you and I already know the benefits of breath work and the intention and the intentional purpose of it. When I think of breath work, the first thing that I think of, it takes me back to Eckhart Tolle's you know what I'm talking about, right? I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I lose my memory sometimes, but I literally have his book. I bought two copies. Like there's something wrong with me. But I had two copies and it took me almost 3 years to finish it. And when I finally finished it, it hit a different um it unlocked something in me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's that mindfulness, like anyone that follows like Abraham Hicks, even when she talks, like if you're not aware of what she's saying, it sounds like she's speaking in parables, but it's really simple, right? It's the art of being present in the moment and actually being able to kind of like slow down that it's not even just the chatter, but it's like even those unwanted or more unwarranted frequencies that continuously exist because we're co-creating with the universe, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
we're like kind of like mentally put off in one point in time, we're still exuding that, whether we like to think it or not. So I guess to my point with the breath work, do you feel like that's something along the lines of that, or is it like deeper?
Well, and depending on your belief system, like you can start in anywhere in that. Like, yes, I love how breathwork ties you into everything, because
Mm,
when you can take a moment and learn to be still, you can realize like all the wonderful things around you that even just light you up in a moment of overwhelm. Like,
yes.
oh, you're frustrated, you're overwhelmed, you've had back-to-back meetings all day. Go sit outside with a cup of tea or water for 5 minutes and just observe what's around you, especially if there's like nature of any
Yeah.
kind. Like, I'm really fortunate here in the fact that I have some old growth trees outside my windows in this office. Like, I can look out the window and be like, no, I can pretend that I'm in a forest and everything is peaceful and fine right now.
Mhm. And it does, and in a sort, for the most part, when I'm actively practicing, I will say that mindful, because the breath work is just one mindful technique or tool that a person can use. Um, but I don't know, like people, I feel like, let's say for example, they're having like financial issues, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then on top of that is just all these other things that are going on. So it kind of puts the mind and the body in a state of fight or flight. So from there, like you can't, what did she say? You can't get there from there. And it
Well,
literally,
exactly. Like
you
like
know
you
what I
can't
mean? Mhm.
jump from a trauma response to Buddha level Zen.
Exactly. Exactly.
This
And
isn't the overcome mindfulness and whatever triumphant struggle with 3 easy payments of 1999. This is learning the
let me say the
ways
regular
of
quick fix.
actually
Yeah.
letting you imagine your life better so that you're not in a trauma response to begin with.
Yeah. And things traumatically, they significantly, not traumatically, but they significantly change when you go from that fight or flight or trauma response thing, because I don't know if you've ever experienced this, making a decision based on desperation that comes from fear, which also stems from fight or flight, right? Because you feel like you don't necessarily have a choice in that moment. So you're just doing, what the survival thing is to do, right? However, when you do things from a somber peace of mind or a level of, you know, you're here, your outcomes are a lot different.
Oh yeah, because when you're moving in a flight or flight state, things might even look a little manic because you're reactive
Oh yeah.
and you're most likely just looking for the simplest out instead of actually moving in
Sorry.
alignment with the things that you want.
Yeah. No. That's very weird. I'm sorry. I'm trying to stream from the platform.
That's
Reese is
okay.
like, this is ghetto. I'm sorry.
No, she's just wildin' today, and I'm
I
here for
am.
it. I'm just tired. It's been a long
He's
week.
like, okay, they're bugging over there in the US. Yes, take note. Just remember me though. Don't forget
I
me.
will.
All right, but no, okay. So we talked about the breath work and that being one form of the tools as mindful practice. So can you just kind of like briefly go over like your coaching and like why you feel like coaching is that thing?
Really, I feel that coaching is the best way to use my background in high risk social work, using all of our modern tools
Mhm.
with my training in holistics to actually positively help people create change and better their lives while still existing in all of our like colonized systems,
Yeah,
because it was the way to find a way forward while merging two worlds. Because it's like, guys, we need the old and the new to move forward with the knowledge to become better.
exactly. Exactly. That makes me think of the new world, like the new planet type of energy. Does it kind of like somewhat align with that or
A little bit, yes, but mostly just because when I was working frontlines, I was watching so many people fall through the cracks and they weren't getting the services they needed because they weren't being offered. You
Mhm.
probably know, if you've ever sought out mental health
Oh
services in
yeah,
North America,
oh
that they're
yeah,
going to give you a 10-page booklet on anxiety or depression and they're going to say, fill this out and you're magically healed.
oh yeah,
No!
yeah,
Like, and that's also why in my coaching, I focus not only on the analysis and dissection of what got us here, but I
mm,
do a lot of hand holding in the guiding to here are your new tools. But if
mm,
you panic between sessions and you're forgetting the tool, call me, text me, like
yeah,
shoot me a voice message. I will
yeah,
get to you as soon as you can so that we are actively implementing these new tools and not leaving you feeling left behind in the dust of, I forgot the tool and now I'm screwed.
yeah. Until next week, like see me next month, okay,
Exactly.
bye. Like what?
Right? And it's
Mhm.
ridiculous because honestly, yeah, we're all adults. Or maybe some of us aren't. But we need some hand holding in the healing process. And that's one of the reasons I loved my training in the
Mhm.
holistics. Because if we were taking this back culturally to pre-colonization, the
Mhm.
people I would be helping would all be my tribe.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And how intimately you know these people while walking them through their healing, that's actually really special.
Mhm.
Well, yes, we still maintain professional boundaries. I generally know my clients well enough that they have running jokes with me, and
Mhm.
it's more often that they're cracking jokes than asking for help between sessions.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, that meme was not appropriate, Stephanie. But I laughed at it. Thank you.
Yes. So, do you find like in coaching, are there what are the barriers that you find that are kind of like put up as opposed to like what your lane of coaching assists to?
I would say the biggest barrier is the people that are in it for the money.
Mm,
Because, well, yes, I like to be paid appropriately for my services.
mm,
I'm not there to just see you for your hour a week and just shoo you along. No, I'm invested. I'm on your team. We are in this together, even though I'm just the guide.
yeah,
Like, I am wholeheartedly invested in the fact that you need to heal, and not for the testimonial, but so that you get to enjoy the life that you've always wanted.
exactly. So, do you find that like your clients like do they know exactly what they're trying to like accomplish when going through you or
A
like
lot,
what is their
a lot of my clients do come to me and they know.
mm,
I actually, many of even the ones that have come to me in the last 6 months started off with, I know I need to heal from this, that, and the other.
mhm,
Can we make this happen?
mm,
And to which I go, well, are you willing to give me an hour a week in a session
yeah,
and actually do your homework? Yep. Well, then come on, let's go.
right,
It's like, let's figure this out because if we were all healthy mentally,
mm,
we would all be significantly healthier physically, and we would all be a lot kinder to each other, and we would actually start to see an entire shift in humanity to,
mhm,
oh, we're not hate clubbing each other. We're supporting each other when we see someone struggling.
yeah,
We are reaching out with a hand to say, hey, can I help you? Instead of ridiculing someone for struggling through their trauma, their addiction, like
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
We're all just human. And if people would realize that, this place would be a lot better, a lot faster.
I agree. And I think just like societal norms, right? And just kind of the way that society is set up, it makes it not necessarily easy, right? But I feel like because that's something that I've taken inventory of the fact that it's much easier to kind of project and look outward as to what other people's flaws are, right? Then actually take that time and step back and look within ourselves and actually start taking that inventory and breaking down like, hey, like why does this bother me? For instance, like if I don't necessarily like I don't know, like certain relationships, why don't I like these relationships? Um, why do I side with one side other than the other? What are my limiting beliefs that kind of like support that are running in the background? And a lot of people aren't aware of that. Like they really, really, Reese, people really think that these are their own thoughts.
Right? And
They
and I
do.
mean,
They think that.
not to cut myself down, but if I look at my past long-term relationship history,
Mhm.
I might as well have had a narcissist kink.
Yeah, promise you. I swear.
Like I was intrinsically attracted to just people that would go out of their way to harm me and control and all of that. And now that I've taken the time to heal, I I may not have perfect partners,
Mhm.
but I have people that are happy to listen to my thoughts, my feelings, my struggles without judgment and to just go, "Hey babe, I still love you.
Mhm.
Even though you're struggling, everything's fine. I'm not ridiculing you for this."
Yeah. Or making you feel like they're gonna like jump ship because they're like, ooh,
Yeah,
eh,
exactly.
yeah. Um, so I guess my next question, with you having been brought that up, with this is actually something I covered last night, so it's so funny that you brought that up. As far as recovering from these very damaging type of relationships, right? For you as a person, obviously we know like that's what kind of pushed you towards your trajectory in life to help other people, but like what are some of the things that you took, what were your takeaways, and then how did you start doing like self inventory to start healing past attracting and being attracted to that same person? Because we can say, like, after we're out of a situation, we can say, oh, well, I would never do that again, and then very quickly find ourselves in the same type of narrative again. So, like, what are some of the things that you did to make sure that, this wasn't something that habitually repeated itself?
Well, the ultimate root of that one was actually for me childhood trauma.
Mm,
I was literally attracted to the let's say profile or type of my first abuser,
mm,
and for me, like, yeah, that took work,
yeah.
and to even rewire my nervous system to realize that none of those things are okay.
Mm,
But once I managed my nervous system to not seek the excitement of people that acted in those ways, I was able to move forward differently, and very specifically look for men that are expressing healthy masculinity,
mm.
or and that are just dealing with themselves in healthy ways. Like,
And what
oh,
does that
you're
mean?
well, that means when they're dealing with their own frustration, not taking it out on another person, but also not being like bitchy and passive aggressive either.
Mhm.
Actually taking the time they need to process their feelings, and doing whatever they need to, even if that's taking time with their own choice of creative outlet. It's people that actually process their crap and are intentionally trying to not put it on you or the people around them.
Exactly. I think one of the things with repeating those type of cycles, for me especially, right? I think things, it could either go one way or the other, because I was, listening to on Dr. Spirit, right? She said usually what happens is after you get out of a string of, like, these really just destructive. So when I say destructive, it's like, it's like the shit that breaks you down. So you're just like, oh, I'm never gonna do this again. But then there's a part of you, because unfortunately, like all of us women, we're just not in our bad bitch era. Like we're not in our dark feminine. Like I actually care. I'm sorry, I care. So so it's like, all right, it'll literally push you to one extreme or the other, right? So it's like, hey, the extent of the trauma of the damage will either make you shut all the way down, right? So you're not even able to receive. You can't, like, you cannot understand or see or decipher the difference between what's healthy, what's good, and what's safe for you,
Mhm.
right? Or, if you haven't done any of the work, you kind of just go towards the complete opposite, which can be like extremely detrimental, because it's like, oh, if my ex was like, very passive aggressive, or very defensive, and by way of not taking accountability ever for the way that this person, his actions might be affecting me, and instead just, doing things like, oh, well, why are you bringing this up? Why are we having this conversation? You go to someone that's completely obsolete of that, which is still very it's damaging.
Well,
So,
exactly.
mhm,
And even if you do all of that healing work on your own,
mhm,
the same habits are going to come out from your side of things in that next relationship. And that's
mhm,
where, yes, you need time to work on yourself.
Mm,
I definitely don't encourage the relationship hopping,
yeah.
but you also need to be gentle with yourself and your next partner, because that's where you're going to learn the new habits of what you're like in a relationship.
Mm,
Because yes, it may have been toxic, it may have broken you, whatever happened happened,
mm,
but there's always a piece that we play in it. For me,
mm-hmm,
I used to go back.
mm,
I they would wait just long enough for me to forgive, and I'd say, okay, well, we can try and make this healthy. Yeah,
mm,
no, more adult Reese wants no part of that. This
right,
was toxic.
right.
I I'm happy to heal on my own and forgive you, but you don't get to come back.
Yeah. And I think, when we're talking about relationships, right? And full disclosure, I think I just had like a situation like that to where, I had done all of the work and I thought I was completely fine, and then we ended up seeing each other again, and maybe things were said, and I'm like, still my guard is up. But ultimately, subconsciously, it hasn't been that long. So, me personally, and this is not to like gender bash or anything like that, but I've yet to see evidence of a man that has, gone to specifically work on themselves after a relationship to the extent where they can come back and show a different side, which basically is very telling because it's like, okay, if we happen to run back into each other again and we entertain the conversation, you're not bringing anything new. Like the dynamic is the same. The only difference is I am in therapy. I'm doing work to make sure that I'm being a healthy partner to the other person, but you're bringing the same thing thinking that there's nothing wrong with you. You know what I'm saying? And I think that there are a lot of us women, we get caught up in that to the
Hmm.
point where, like, even yesterday I was thinking, like I did, I cried like most of yesterday. And then today I'm like, I had to snap out of it because I'm like, I can't be sunken down to this low, vibrational energy. But really, I think it was just more of a sense of disappointment in myself. Like I was upset with myself because, I knew better than to put that expectation in my mind, knowing that nothing, you know what I mean? So, like, what would you say
I
to,
totally.
mm,
I would say you can't change him unless he's in diapers, darling.
I love that.
Because
I love it.
ultimately, we, yes, we as humans, we're constantly changing and evolving.
Yes.
But if your partner is not working on themselves,
Mm,
you're going to be doing all the heavy lifting and wanting to pull your hair out.
oh, yeah.
You need a partner that will actively work on themselves. And especially when you say, hey, you did this thing and it made me feel X, Y, and Z. They need to be able to acknowledge that and go, hey, I'm sorry that I did that thing and I'm sorry that it hurt you,
Yeah.
and take steps to move differently in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree with that. Um, it's funny because when you're like in that type of dynamic, right? That that's how it's supposed to be, but it's so easy to be gaslighted and like tricked into believing that you're asking for too much, you know, because the other person, if they're not
Yeah,
willing
like you're
to,
too much.
oh yeah, oh yeah,
Or you're making it up. And I'm like, no, I have literal proof that you did the thing.
yeah, you did it.
I'm
You
not
know what you did,
crazy.
man.
Yeah, you know what you did,
Yeah.
and I get that you have some narcissistic tendencies. I mean, hell, we all do.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I when any of us are acting in our worst self, we can all present that way.
Oh yeah,
But it's that taking the time to work on yourself and understanding that in your first healthy or healthy-ish partnership after a stream of toxicity, it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
There might even be times where you want to run because that person is allowing you to be vulnerable and safe,
Mhm.
and that triggers you because there's no flight response,
Yeah.
which might sound weird, but it's a real thing that happens.
Yeah. And that's how you know you're in a healthy space, like a person. I'm gonna ask you something. In one of the last episodes that I watched from Dr. Spirit, she talked about dealing with people. She said that if you're dealing with someone that doesn't trigger your nervous system, but not in by way of, you know how if a person's bad for you get butterflies in your stomach, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good indication that you should probably head it, and I'm head up out of here, you know. But I think she meant it in a different way. I've never felt that before, so I can't break it down into like an analogy or anything like that. But it made sense because it was like, okay, if this person triggers you in this sort of way, that's a good indication that that's probably a healthy person for you, right? Because they're not the typical type of person that you would go for. They're not presenting with the same type of patterns that you're used to. And so it's okay to explore that. Um, so like, what's your thought on that?
I have to agree.
Mm,
I like that butterfly sensation. Run.
yeah.
I run as fast as you can. But if you can get through a coffee date or whatever you do for a first meet with a potential partner, and there's no stomach reaction, but you're sitting there going, "Oh, I would actually like to know this person more."
Mm.
Then give it space. Like don't go and get a U-Haul, obviously. Don't be a lesbian about this.
Like, are we getting married?
Um
Are we moving in? What we doing, baby?
but start to gradually get to know the person.
Yeah.
Like, we need to stop rushing into things like, oh, I had a first date. Oh, I think I love this person. No, no, that's a red flag. You go on a date with someone and they're telling you immediately how special you are and how they knew since you started talking. Run. Run as fast as you can, as far away as possible.
Oh boy. Yeah, that would be considered the clinical term is love bombing.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
it definitely is. And don't fall for it. Like, respect yourself enough to get to know someone slowly,
Mhm.
gradually. Like, you also don't want to instantly slip into the pattern of constantly texting.
Yeah.
Like, none of that is healthy. You just met this person. They're a stranger. Sure, you might want to hit it, but past that, you know nothing about them. You're just horny.
Exactly. It's like, come on now, logic, guys, logic. Don't be animals about it. Literally, though. Nah, I completely get that, and it's so. And I feel like in this culture of dating culture, that is literally such a struggle for a lot of people, right? They
Hmm.
are very quick to want to get to know someone's innards before they actually you know what I'm saying, though. But
I,
no,
I
they,
do.
before you properly vet, and I think that if that was my one takeaway from like all of the bad stuff is the importance of vetting, because I have to be able to see the way you move and operate in real life, right? Like, are you
Well,
consistent? Are you a man of your word? If you tell me you're going to do something, are you going to actually do it? Are you going to get mad at me if you don't do it and I bring it up? You know, are you going to try to trample over my boundaries? You know, are you going to try to get as much as you can out of me as quickly? These are things, you know, that are very imperative. I feel like a lot of people skip over that step because they're lonely and in that vulnerable state and they just want a warm body next to them, right?
exactly. In the digital age, and especially post pandemic, people
Yeah.
have forgotten how to be social, how to have community, and even just fulfilling friendships.
Yeah.
and we're lonely, and there are times where yes, people are leading to hookups instead of making sure that someone is good for them. I'm
Exactly.
like, hey, as they say, good sex is a great way to end up in something toxic.
Oh yeah. Diaries, hold on. Okay, I'm back. Okay, cool. All right, but no, it's very very true, right? Because ultimately, it puts a blanket over things that can be very telling about a person, right? Because I think I did a video yesterday about breaking your own heart, right? And a lot of the times we put ourselves in these situations that never really had to even
Mm-hmm.
occur, simply out of disparity and the illusion of like we don't have enough time, right? Which is not necessarily true. These are things that we tell ourselves to justify, the acts of rushing into any and everything, jobs included. So, um,
Exactly. I mean, North America is the rush. Culturally, societally, it's rush to have the career, rush to have the babies, rush to get married, rush to do all these things.
mhm,
When in reality, if those don't align with your goals, you don't have to do any of them.
exactly.
As long as you can hopefully comfortably support yourself, however necessary,
Hmm.
none of it matters. You don't have to get married. You can love your partner for decades and never put a ring on it.
Exactly.
I mean, you can also choose to be single even if you're not asexual. Like, there are
Exactly.
also asexual people in relationships
Hmm.
because none of these supposedly predetermined characteristics actually dictate the type of life that we're going to have.
Hmm. So, I also wanted to go over because at the beginning of your introduction, you talked about kind of being a coach or an advocate for um, a variety of different types of relationships. And I said we're
Well,
gonna have to do another,
I,
yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm specifically a coach for it, but I'm definitely seasoned in my ethical non-monogamy. It's been a long
Ethical
time.
non-monogamy. Okay, I love that. So,
Yes.
can you just give a little bit of like going, Reese?
Well, I mean, it probably started off in high school
Okay.
with like my first girlfriend
Mm,
because back in even that day, she didn't want monogamy. And while we didn't have the words for ethical non-monogamy,
mm.
like, oh, you want to be with that person? You want to love us both? Okay, I don't care. Go for it. Just keep me posted.
Right. You should be smart about
Let
it.
me know, when I get to hit.
Yeah.
But then, like in adulthood, in my actual more long-term relationships, it was the understanding that it's actually an insane expectation
Mm,
to make one person meet all of your needs. Like, and not just sexually, but even like in companionship or just like being helped.
mm.
Like maybe your partner doesn't like to cuddle and you're a person that needs that daily.
Yeah.
Go get the extra that you're not getting at home from another partner that
Yeah.
fits into your lifestyle and your goals and all of this, because not putting all that stress on one person is a lot, and it's actually like more toxic monogamy than anything,
Mhm.
as well as the idea that when you pair off with your partner, you're not supposed to experience attraction to another human being ever again in your life.
She said that is
Personally, i I
obscene.
see that as impossible.
I,
And maybe because I'm not heterosexual, I mean, being pansexual. I'm attracted to people because I'm attracted to them regardless of their gender or what's in their pants.
Right.
It's like, oh, that's a beautiful human. Oh, that one's a beautiful human too.
Right.
And I leave my house, I probably see at least 10 beautiful people where it's, oh yeah, I'd hit that. But I'm
Yeah.
old and I'm tired, so I don't.
To be honest, it's not. That's not the lifestyle I live. However, I'm very, very much aware that it might just be a limiting belief of mine, right? Because growing up, the standard for being in relationships, it was always monogamy, you know. And so if you kind of like trend outward or outside of that, it's very like much frowned upon. It's only like now that like polygamy is like this huge thing, but like here in America, it's like, oh, it's the dudes that are poly, and so but they just make it look so sleazy. So I'm like, ew,
Right?
y'all just want to
Right?
on
Well, then,
everybody. It
if
don't
you
even
look,
be any substance with it. It's no substance.
right?
It's just because she looks good, and maybe she has a car and a crib. So it's like, all right, we're gonna fuck. And now we're like married. They try to hide behind like Islam over here. It's the
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? What
Yeah.
else? There's
Well,
too
then,
much.
and there are people that play it that way.
Yeah.
But and don't get me wrong, there is equal toxicity in toxic ethical non-monogamy, because
Hmm.
there are also married couples pretending to be poly
Hmm.
when they are open. So they
Yeah.
will lead someone on and make them think that they love them just to get in their pants
Yeah.
after months.
Hmm.
And then it's in the later dating that you realize, like, no, this was just an intercourse ploy.
Right.
and
It
and
was a
that's
play with
where, like, I
concepts.
myself, like, people know that I'm poly,
Hmm.
but I'm not generally out here advertising.
Right.
I'm not on the apps. I'm not actively seeking partners,
Hmm.
or even more than my super lovely comet.
Yeah.
And for those of you that don't know what a comet is, it's a relationship that's a lot like the meteor in the sky. It burns hot when it comes around, and you guys may or may not maintain your friendship or relationship in
Mm-hmm.
between seeing each other. But when you are together, it's hot, it's fiery, it's fantastic.
That it's up. Like it's up.
Exactly. It's fantastic. But that's also one of my favorite things about ethical non-monogamy, is because there's really no limit on what a partnership can be, as long as you and the other parties involved are okay
Are-
with it.
Yeah. And I
Like,
think, oh, I'm sorry. I cut you off. But
the best thing for me about having a comet right now is I have the time to focus 100% on business and my own health and well-being.
mm,
Yeah, I would love a primary partner or a nesting partner that I actually live with one day. Am
mm,
I gonna force it? No, I'm busy. I have goals and a
yeah,
life to live.
yeah,
I'm not out here wasting time looking for some man or woman.
yeah, yeah. I think that's a huge thing for like a lot of people. They base their whole purpose on finding that person. But I don't know if you're familiar with Jacob's Ladder. Okay, so for anyone that doesn't know Jacob's Ladder, and correct me if I explain it wrong. So basically, the concept is there's a ladder, right? And as you're climbing that ladder in life, on the opposite side, allegedly, there'll be that person that's also doing the same thing, right? But what happens is a lot of the times in life, we end up getting lazy. So we'll climb across the monkey bars, to meet the person that's, they haven't necessarily climbed high enough. So, everywhere you go, there you are type shit. Did I explain that right?
Yes, yes, you nailed that one.
Okay.
And it's true. It's even when you're in a partnership, you're not often growing at the same rate or the same time
Yeah.
because you're going to be doing your thing, they're going to be doing their thing, and hopefully you're doing some of it together.
Yeah.
But in reality, you don't want to be connected at the hip with someone that is toxic. You can't do anything separately. That's not healthy.
Exactly. And it steals the other person's autonomy away, to be honest. You know what I mean? And it took me a long time to realize that, but I think when you have that codependent mindset for so long, that becomes a very normal thing. Excuse me, until you realize. But again, that comes along with doing the work.
Hmm.
The introspection and all of that, and obviously you have tools and help from like the outside world, where the universe is like, okay, like take a look at this. This is
Right?
where you went wrong.
Well, and I mean, to be utterly personal, this comet that I currently have was really like my first way healthier partnership. It's by no
Mm,
means perfect.
mm,
Like we have our flaws, but in no way is it abusive or toxic. It's
mm,
just, hey, this isn't perfect, but I love you for who you are, and you're happy loving me for who I am, and we're both building our lives. And honestly, we probably talk at least every other day
mm,
now that it's more than a year later.
mm,
But we have this epic friendship, and to learn that I could actually be almost like a best friend with a partner was a huge adjustment for me.
yeah.
Like, this isn't a person I want to run from. This is a, hey, whenever you're in town, I better be that little spoon.
Right.
And it's taken the stress out of it because we have an agreement. Are
Mm,
we traditionally together? No. Are we us? Yes.
yeah, yeah. And that kind of maintains that other person's identity as well. You know what I mean? What is it called? Homogenize, when
Yes.
two part, which is completely so unhealthy. Like, I don't know who's teaching this shit. You're like, oh, you're one half and I'm in half of, we become whole. No, because, well, what happens is one person is destined to lose their identity. And a lot of the times, and I'm pretty sure there are men that this happens to as well. I just don't know any, because they're
Oh, I
kind of
know
like
a few.
in the moment type shit. But I know more women than I know of men that end up losing their identities in relationships that they end up homogenizing with their partner. So by the time the dude leaves or whatever, they don't know who they are. They don't know what they like. They don't know what their purpose is. So it's crazy. Like, who taught us
And it
that
is,
it was supposed to be like that?
and and it's so messed up that that is seen as a norm
Yeah,
because in reality, yeah, I all of those toxic relationships, they broke me. When they were over, it was like, okay, who am I? What am I doing with my life?
yeah.
Why am I here? How much of this did I do to try and save our toxic relationship?
Mm,
And like, don't
yeah,
get me wrong, I was young. I was very young in the longest one. We got
mm,
together while I was like freshly an adult.
mm,
But now I would never sacrifice even a piece of me or one of the goals that I want to achieve.
yeah,
I'm sorry, if I have to go and do it all on my own first and then I meet someone spectacular, that's fine with me because all of those, what I guess normal people would call dreams, are just
mm,
goals for me. It's like,
yeah,
this is when I'm doing it. These are the smart goals to achieve it.
mm,
Hopefully, all of these things are done in the next 5 to 10 years.
yeah,
Like I don't need another human being to complete me. I am whole on my own.
Exactly.
You only know me briefly, and you know that I have a whole ass jar of personality.
Right.
Like, and yeah, I also have really close friends around primarily North America that I talk to all the time. My best friend probably phones me twice a day, and
Yes.
we shoot the shit, we catch up, and we laugh maniacally.
Yeah.
We're like a bunch of 70s teenagers just on the phone all day laughing.
I think that's great though, because a lot of people, I think having that way of life, right, is completely different as a woman, right, than having that homogenized kind of like dynamic. Because a lot of women that I know that have like strictly platonic, not platonic, but monogamous relationships,
Mhm.
their friendship um, quality really sucks.
Right?
It sucks. And I was one of them, because you end up kind of just like zeroing in on that one person. But the guys, like, they still have their friends, like, they're good. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not missing
Well,
anything.
exactly. And regardless of gender, like my friends at the end of the day are judge and jury.
Mm, yeah,
like like sorry, dear relationship, you're probably gonna be shorter than all these friendships. So if you
yeah,
fit into the life I'm living, I'm happy to weave
right,
you
that's
in.
right.
But am I gonna change how I live my life
Yeah.
because you're air quote special? No.
She said air
You
cold special.
yes. Oh, you're special, all right, baby. I won't change my life for you. And yeah, like we're all constantly changing and growing. And
Yeah.
yes, of course, in a relationship there's give and take.
Mm,
But don't drop your identity at just this idea of having a romantic partner.
exactly. Exactly. It's dangerous, I think,
Well,
when
exactly.
you do that.
Like I don't even think after basically a lifetime of ethical non-monogamy in various forms over the years
Mm.
that I could be completely monogamous. I could be monogamish. Like I might just need a hall pass a couple
Probably.
times a year,
We'll see.
but I mean, I really don't think I'd try. Be like, no,
Mm.
babe, you love me, then you need to understand that I have this lovely comment that is actually fills a lot of my cup, even though
Yeah,
we're just really great friends that see each other when we do.
exactly. So let me ask you a question. Like, what the healthiness of the relationship or the relationship dynamics that you find yourself attracting now? I guess it's a two-part question, and it's crazy because I did a TikTok video on this, right? The moment you change your mind and decide that what once used to be a yes, right, is automatically a no. Did you find like the dynamics and the trajectory of the type of partnerships that you were attracting immediately changed? And if you did, how did it feel in opposed to what you were used to?
It definitely changed, and it was pretty drastic because I went from loving the, I guess, perceived bad boy, not actual bad boy, to loving like these sensitive nerds that while they're not effeminate are in touch with their feminine side, like they know how to keep themselves clean, they know how to look nice and dress well,
Mm,
but they're also in tune with their emotions, and they can go,
mm,
hey, I'm going to be quiet today because I'm stressed, I'm tired, and I'm working through this thing.
mhm.
Don't take my distance personally. I will check in with you later.
That's
Like
a proper
the
guideline.
ability
I'm
to
like, wait, hold on. You can
actually
articulate that?
communicate.
A dude? Like a dude?
Yeah,
Please
yeah, like even a cisgendered man, not even
exist.
a trans man, they exist,
Exist.
that they really exist. And even though I had my years of toxicity and some of it even overlapping in 2 or 3 toxic relationships at once, because yay, polyamory. Um, but then I've also had like really spectacular, like even flings, like short-term things that we saw each other for a brief time, and it was incredible because they could articulate their emotions and their feelings and say, hey, I'm enjoying getting to know you, without going, oh my god, I love you, I think this is it. I'm like, no, don't do that. I'm gonna run away.
It's like
I'm
you're
probably
masking it up.
I'm I'm gonna run away, and I hope that it's a good mobility day, because otherwise that's gonna look extra gimpy.
Oh my god, yo, I love the hell out of you. Yeah, I hope it's a good mobility day. Oh my god. Shit, you know that talks about. Oh my god, yo. That was too funny. Nah, I hear you though. Cause it is kind of like, I don't know, like there's something a little bit intimidating with that level of emotion, right? Before you actually truly know somebody. And especially coming from a traumatized place, it almost feels like a setup.
Well,
Like you said,
exactly. It's
why are you
that
trying to
what
trick me?
right? Like,
Hmm.
why are you trying to solidify this when we just met?
Hmm.
And even just that, like knowing all of the red flags as a much older adult,
Yeah.
it's that no, I'm not looking to see anyone that's not an actual match for my life. So let
Right.
me get to know you slowly. Let
Mhm.
me know how you deal with your pain, your
Mhm.
frustration. Like, I don't want to be with you if you are going to do the angry.
No, that's really true.
I don't want to be with a person that is slamming cupboard doors when, or literal doors when they're pissed off. I would
Because
not like a plate thrown past my head.
right, you're in the house doing the Matrix.
Exactly. Like I don't want to put those 10 years of martial arts to use.
Sure. She said, "No, man, we have to whip you." I know that's right, Reese. She said, "Please don't get it twisted, baby. I'll flip you up here." I don't want to. It shouldn't have to get to that point, though. Respectfully, like.
Well, exactly. Like if you can't deal with even the conflict between you and your partner,
Yeah.
should be handled calmly,
Mhm.
respectfully, and with relative ease. That there shouldn't be any yelling. There shouldn't be an explosion.
Mhm.
If you are that volatile with a partner,
Mhm.
that's not your person, baby.
Exactly. That means that they're triggering the too many negative things. I think there's always something to be said with a good balance. And me personally, I feel like your person, whether it's one or multiple people, right? They're going to be a reflection of what you might need to look at or be aware of, whether it's good or bad, right? So, however, whatever. But I feel like it comes a point where it's a person that triggers or the worst side of you. That to me is like not a good thing because if you bring out like the absolute worst in me, that is very telling. It's telling, okay, I need to work on some shit. Also, in the same token, you might not be a safe space for me. You know what I mean?
Well,
Because we're
exactly.
not working
And
on it together. Like you're just continuously and habitually triggering these things and then kind of like backing away. You know what I mean?
Well, exactly. And like, don't get me wrong, that there's going to be disagreement and
Right.
conflict in your
Yeah.
relationships. But if you guys are healthy about it, relationships that are meant to last are actually pretty easy. It's not fighting. You're not holding on tooth and nail to the like thought of anything going wrong because you just know, and
Uh,
because you can come together, you can work through your differences, and you move forward with both of you taking action to
mhm,
correct your behaviors in a situation, so that it's
mhm,
also not, well, you did this. Oh
mhm.
no, baby, I played my part too.
Yeah. We were both in this.
Like, yeah, on like I'm sorry. On Thursday, I was a cow.
Mhm. Oh my god. I absolutely adore that. And I feel like not enough people, there are people because I see like I see podcasts like with guests that have like healthy relationships and I'm like, wow, that must be so lovely. Like if you've not seen it before, it's so different. And I guess that brings me to my next point, right? After coming out of, the parts that were like really detrimental maybe to like your self um worth or all of that, like the way that you perceived everything, how did you know like what healthy was? Like did you trust it? Did you like question it? Were you like, nah, like get away from me, I don't trust you. You're good.
I
Or did
mean,
you?
there was definitely a period of please leave me alone. Um,
Mm,
and
yeah.
then when I did start to branch out again, there was definitely distrust because it was this is foreign.
Mm,
Can I make it work? Can I
mm,
get used to this? And I mean, clearly yes, more than a year and a half later.
yeah.
But or a year and a half into said lovely new thing. But that took effort, and to even learn to be vulnerable again with another human being,
Mm,
that took a lot of trust building
mm,
and really casually getting to know a person. I think it helped that actually after our first real date, after talking for months,
mm,
he went and read my first two books
mm,
and actually responded with educated questions on each of the topics into relationship of my life, because these were before my new book came out where it was just telling my story.
mm,
And he went, okay, so you went through that. I'm really sorry.
mm.
And what was this like? In this situation, how can I best respond for you to feel safest? Things like that.
Wow.
And he's good, man. He kind of sets the bar, even though he is still imperfect.
Yeah, I don't think there's no man is can actually be 100% perfect, just like no woman can be. But I feel like when you're coming from a place of distrust, and kind of like apprehension as it pertains to relationships, that is a lot. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot. Like our initial conversation, and you know what we talked about, and it's like coming from that type of like that dynamic and relationship that literally makes you question everything. So you're literally always in a state of confusion. You don't know what to trust. You literally question everything. And then when it's done, it's like, okay, well, this is probably what I can expect from every fucking body, like at this point. So for someone to come in and they show you something different, I would imagine like I would think that's scary, you know?
It was scary. It was jarring. It was
Mhm.
even overwhelming at times when we started having like those really deep conversations.
Yeah.
But now he honors the fact that we're a very low-key relationship in by
Mhm.
any means, and he honors the fact that he has taken the time to become safe space.
So that's something he built upon because he understood what you had been through. So he made sure. And that speaks to like the integrity in itself. And I was going to ask you as well, right? I guess this would be another question for, women that are kind of trying to come into learning how to be open and vulnerable and trusting again, right? What advice would you give them if it was someone that maybe was apprehensive to have to prove that they were trustworthy?
Honestly, start small. You don't have to reveal any of your deep dark baggage immediately.
Mm,
You don't have to tell them your biggest pain points. Like, start sharing the little stuff and do this gradually when you begin to be comfortable.
mm,
Like, you can leave it at, hey babe, I'm sorry, I'm having a rough day. I don't want to dive into the why. Just, I'm
yeah,
having a rough day. I still enjoy your presence in my life, but I don't want to talk about the situation. Like,
right.
you can start there. You don't have to be there with your heart on your sleeve immediately.
Mm,
That takes time, and
yeah,
it actually takes a long time to build the trust required to share your deepest and darkest.
yeah. No, I completely agree. I think you put a lot of things into perspective for me as a recovering pick me should.
Also, as a recovering slut,
Oh my god! Hold on, let me. I love that. No, but I think one of the things that was probably the most telling about my self worth and value was the fact that it was almost initially because I wanted so bad for the other person to want me. Like I just kind of like took all my bags, like threw them on the table, and I'm like, "Listen, this is what I went through." Da 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 da. And then they're like, "Oh, really? Okay. What else? Oh, he hit you. Okay." And then they put it in their pocket and they turn around and they do all of those things. And I'm like,
it exactly.
what the fuck? What I told you? So that is really telling. So is there like an upside to not like just fully disclosing everything? Is it like, or seeing
Well,
how trustworthy this person is, or
not only seeing how trustworthy the person is, but so that you're not sitting there having all of these hardships thrown in your face,
mm,
just as you just like gave the example. It's because no, you have to know that they're not going to do that in a moment where they're mad at you.
mm,
You have to know that when they're mad, it's not you that they're going to take everything out on and go, well, all these things are wrong with you.
yeah,
No, that's shit that you went through.
yeah,
And well, yes, you may have contributed to how you got there.
mm,
Your trauma, your abuse, most of that was not caused by you.
exactly.
Like, you were not the hand that hit you.
I love that. Well, I want to ask, because I'm going to put a banner up as we conclude to this. Where can the audience find you? And what is the name of your book? Where can they find your book?
You can find me everywhere on social media at Trauma to Bliss. And the
The number two?
easiest, no, just TO.
Okay.
And then the easiest place to find my new book, Becoming Blissful, which is actually my full methodology and recovery workbook, can be found at traumatobliss.ca/becoming. slash. 'Becoming. 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 'Bec
All right, let me make sure I have this right. Did I do
Yep.
it right? That's good. All right.
Yes, you did.
All right. I absolutely, you're the longest interview that I've had, and this was like a flowy. I feel good. I've been waiting for you, girl.
Right? I was so bummed when we had technology issues last week and had to reschedule.
It was crazy. Okay, so what was going on your end? Because I showed you like the buffoonery that was going on over here. I was like, oh my god.
Right? See, I I was just having connectivity issues. Like
Okay. Mhm.
I
See,
had to
but things
reset a modem.
okay. And the modems for some reason, like once they start messing up, it could literally just throw everything off. But I took that last week, I took it as all right, maybe it wasn't the day and the time. Today's Friday the 13th, which everybody's like, ooh, so scary. But I'm like, no, this is a really good day. Like it was a great day. Today was a great day. I've only had one bad Friday
Right?
the 13th. But yeah, everything for a reason. So I feel like today we needed the energy of today specifically to make sure that this went off without a hitch. It was absolutely great. I feel like I learned so much from you. Um, and I definitely
This
want
was a
to.
fantastic one
Oh, it was
because
seamless,
I
definitely seamless. So, what can everybody expect from you next, and how can they book your coaching services?
wow, you can find everything at my website, traumatobliss.ca/services.
Okay,
I list out basic programming and where you can find them through our website to even just go through the funnels and see if you are the right match.
okay.
But you can also just shoot me a message on any platform and I'm happy to have the conversation.
All right. That's awesome. And then like do you have a process for your coaching? Like do they have to fill out forms or like anything like that?
I mean, I do like to get everything under contract so that both of us are covered and
Okay.
that also so that I am held to the standard of doing everything that I offer.
Yeah. Yep.
Like there is that contractual guarantee, which helps.
Yeah.
But mostly, I where you're at, see what
Mhm.
level you need, because some people need a breakthrough session. Some people need 12 or more weeks of actual coaching.
Yeah.
Some people are ready to commit to a year with me.
Mhm.
And that's fantastic, but that's also a large commitment, and that's why there are varying levels depending on where you're at.
Exactly. All right. I had another question for you and it just slipped, so maybe I wasn't meant to ask it. I don't know. But I definitely enjoyed having you on the show. I want to thank you for making time for me again today. I was like, oh my God, she's gonna block me and never speak to me again. But thank goodness that didn't happen. Um,
God, no. I am definitely a human that understands that there are scheduling errors or even just technical crap.
yeah, it was a bad day. You saw the video. You saw the video. But I definitely would love to have you back on my podcast. Oh, I want to do a three-way though with my best friend because I feel like the conversation will be freaking like great. Freaking great. So if we could ever find
Okay,
time to
but
set that
maybe we shouldn't call it a three-way.
I know that sounds crazy, right? Like, oh, y'all trying to take it there. Nothing. You know what I mean. Reese is
I
like,
do, but
no.
also given the topics discussed in this, I had to say it. Because as much as I am intellectual, I am very much also still clown.
Yeah, listen, I'm like that 98% of the time. I can't help it. I feel like the other side is like ultra Scorpio dark mean. So I'm like, I don't really like going there. So I gotta joke around if I can, you know. I get a couple of laughs off, and you know, it's good.
Right? But thank you so much for having me.
Oh, for sure. Thank you for being here, and we'll have to reconnect again. Yeah, guys, if you enjoyed this episode of Truth, Trust, and Trajectory, please make sure you let me know in the comments your thoughts, comments, opinions. What did you take away from this episode? You can also find Reese at the website scrolling down below, traumattobliss.ca/becoming, to purchase her book. And you can find her on that same name on any of the platforms, that's Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. No, maybe
It's basically everywhere.
just everywhere, guys. Just type it in the search board, okay? Yeah, so that's it. I appreciate you guys watching, and that's all I have for you today. Okay, bye.